Okay, so we now have the radiator on. That's so I can bring the engine up to operating temps. Upper and lower hose are installed. I reinstalled the alternator just so I can run the fan belt to drive the pump, which I still have to install the pump pulley. I'll probably put the fan on. I mean, at this point, why not? I can't imagine myself being stupid, stick my hand there when it's running. Though I've done dumber things. Anyway, so we have the fan to put on, and then we will be good to go as far as a cooling system. I'm pretty sure this is a externally regulated alternator, which is unfortunate because if I want to make that functional, which I would like to do to keep the battery voltage up while it's running, I'd have to give it a field coil current. I could just directly wire that to the battery, which means as long as I don't go over idle speed, you know, it'd be okay. If I start revving it up, though, I could potentially overvolt the whole situation and do lots of bad things. So I'm either going to not do that, or I might have a switch where I can just plug it in. You know, I know when I'm idling, when I want to charge, I can just plug it in and let the battery charge up some when it's warming up. Then when I want to rev it, I'll unplug it, rev it, and then plug it back in. Or I could actually work up a regulator, which isn't that big a deal. It's not that hard. Like I said, we got a pretty sketchy situation here going on. I could literally run a plug, another one of those plugs, plug it into the power strip. That's how the alternator is hooked up. And then all I need to do is take the regulator and connect the field coil from the regulator back to the battery. I'm pretty sure that's all it takes because it's just a little coil that opens and closes based on voltage, and it vibrates around to duty cycle the field coil off and on to maintain a voltage. So I don't know, we'll think about that some more. But as you can see, it's coming right along. Thanks to my buddy Jeff here for the donor radiator to try this out with. I've also redone, I'm trying to make it not quite so sketchy, so I've better positioned the airflow meter. I've got it a little more secured over here. Just trying to not make it quite, you know, like on the verge of disaster the whole time. I'm hoping that with the radiator and getting the operating temps up, the overly rich condition, what's happening is the plugs are fouling really badly, and I've gotten to do kind of weird stuff with the EFI to make it work. And I think that's because the motor's so cold with the total loss cooling system I had, where I just flowing cold water, you know, 65, 70 degree water into the head and block and keeping it at basically that temperature. It was never coming up any kind of normal temp. The EFI was obviously working way outside its normal parameters. The other thing I'm thinking about doing is maybe going ahead and hooking up a start switch, primarily to get rid of having to do the push button all the time over here, and more importantly, so that I can take advantage of the EFI's start enrichment protocol, or what do you want to call it, where you start it and it runs for, like, you know, I don't know, a few minutes of rich running on top of everything else. Without the start switch triggering the EFI to do that, it never does it. So, you know, that's something I probably should do. Plus I can just clean up this whole mess a little bit better. Once I get it all working and I'm satisfied with it, I'll probably get rid of my power switch block down there and properly hook everything up to a makeshift second engine harness. Right now, you know, you have the primary engine harness. That's the one that that's this EFI one that goes down to the big 36-pin connector. But there was a secondary engine harness that does everything else. It does the start, it does the oil pressure, you know, it goes to the, it runs the fuel pump. All that other secondary stuff was off a secondary engine harness, which I don't have. So I might just make one up and get rid of the whole switch thing on there. That was just something to quickly get things going and test out the different systems. Anyway, more to come. Thanks again, Jeff, for the radiator. I'll let you know how it turns out later.